Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Mixed Martial Arts channel. We are here today to give you a quick breakdown on what happened at the UFC 314 press conference between Diego Lopes and Yair Rodriguez. So we've got two things to go over here today. First of all is going to be this video of Diego Lopes and Yair going at it with a live translation that gives a much better idea of what happened compared to what the translators actually said was happening during the kerfuffle of their fight. Obviously, it was very hard to actually give a good translation of that at the time, but still. And then we have a very, very in-depth page here, post here, where the guy goes through a long list here, as you can see, of all of the lore behind this beef between Diego Lopes and Yair Rodriguez. Before I get into this, I would just like to point out, he says in this post, none of this info has been 100% confirmed by either side, so by the actual people, Diego and Yair, but it is known that Yair has always been close to Marco, who you'll find out in a second, one of the guys involved in the beef, and that is this version of the story that is the most widely circulated rumor that we've heard for several years here in Mexico. So it's actually been a pretty widely known story in Mexico. Obviously, this emanates from Lux Championship or Lux Fight League, which is a regional promotion, and I believe it is a Mexican regional promotion. So that would explain how these guys came to a head a couple of years ago. But before we get onto this, we're going to go through the live translation of Diego Lopes and Yair going at it. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Okay, so I'm not actually listening to this, as you can see. You will be able to hear this in the video, but the audio is somewhat irrelevant. You can hear the translator giving his attempts to translate it live as well, so you might get some little tidbits of information there, but the majority of the actual beefy stuff is going to be shown in subtitles on screen. So let's get straight into it. Culon. So first of all, Yair calls Diego a culon, which supposedly means big ass or pussy, kind of in Mexican. Mexican, that's not the language. Spanish. Can't believe I just said Mexican. In Spanish, culon is like pussy or big ass or asshole. That's what I've read online. So could be a little wrong on the meaning of it, but it's that kind of a insult. And then Diego notices and says, culon, huh? Huh? You call me a culon? You just call me a fucking pussy? And then, tell me again. Diego's pissed. And then Yair gets up and says, yeah, you know you are. You know why I'm calling you that, yeah? Didn't you and your team beat up Marco? Now, as I mentioned earlier on, Marco is a guy that we're going to read a lot about in that post that the other account has made. Shout out to MMA Poetry, by the way, and the sources who he has mentioned somewhere in the comment section down here, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but it's okay. But he gave some sources of other accounts that he actually got this information off of, but irrelevant right now. So let's continue. Didn't you and your team beat up Marco? Yeah. Not a lot of translation here. They're talking over each other a lot. Diego says, listen here. I waited for this moment. Yair is actually saying he's known about this for a long time, obviously, because he's involved in this. But he's like, I've been wanting to say this shit to your face for a long time. Oh, sorry, I just clicked out of it. It's all right, I'll get straight back to it. So, didn't you and your team beat up Marco? I waited for this moment to tell you all of this to your face. Okay? I'm going to make you pay the price for Marcos. Marcos is Yair Rodriguez's teammate. You can suck my dick. And now it's just Diego. Here we go. Now Diego barks back at Yair while Yair doesn't have a mic in his hand. It's a lot easier to hear what Diego's saying now. He's been talking the whole time, but it's been really hard to understand him. Whereas you could kind of tell what Yair was saying, at least for the translation, for the translators to be able to write the subtitles. Don't talk about anyone on my team, or you'll suffer that guy really misspelled that, but the consequence. Okay. Puts his mic down, and this is where it starts to get a bit serious. Diego's trying to get close to him. They don't even care to have mics there now. I think they still get a little bit of live translation here, but for the most part, this is unheard of at these periods. We don't get to actually hear what they're saying, but they're getting pissed. They kind of repeat themselves, though, from what I can tell. I think that says pendejo. I don't have my headphones on, but I believe Yair just called him a pendejo. No, don't mess with my team. So now Diego's back on it, and he's defending himself about the history that they have and why he's not going to stand for Yair just bringing this shit up out of nowhere and acting like he's all evil. Because while I haven't shown you guys the law yet, trust me, there is two sides to this story. Yair has reasons to be mad at Diego Lopes and his team. Diego Lopes has reasons to be mad at Yair and his team, however. So Don't mess with my team, okay? I already told them. This is Yair again. If you don't believe, ask her. Now this is... Yep. My team's here. Good. I'm glad they're here. So, like, we couldn't tell what was happening as English speakers, okay? The translators were giving very bad... I was like, oh, he's actually getting off some translations here. This guy's giving some context. Seeing this video afterwards, I realized we missed everything. We didn't get to see any of what they were actually talking about live. So this is very vital information, and I hope this is helpful for you guys to hear and actually understand the context of Yair and Diego Lopez's beef. Yair is glad that Diego's team is here, because Diego's team is involved in this beef.
My team.
Be careful who you mess with. This is Diego again. Be careful who you mess with. Be careful. I won't forget you threatening my team.
Watch out.
I know where you live, bitch. Or maybe he's saying cunt. I don't know. It's only got a 4 asterisk there, but I'm going to imagine he says, I know where you live, bitch.
Watch out.
You don't threaten a woman. Now, this is not Diego calling himself a woman because he just got threatened by Yair, but there is more lore to this that includes a woman being threatened by Yair. Factually, there is not a lot of proof of this. There's not a lot of proof of heaps of this beef, okay? I'm just telling you what I've read and what multiple sources have said is the case and has been known to be the case for a few years, because this happened a long time ago, okay? Diego's saying, you don't threaten a woman. And now Yair is saying, don't try and twist my words, because Yair doesn't believe it's quite that simple that they threatened a woman. I'll leave it up to your interpretation when we get to the actual breaking down the law. You also shouldn't beat up one person with 10 men. This is Yair saying this. You shouldn't beat up one person with 10 men. Now he says this because there was an instance where Diego Lopez's team allegedly jumped a member of Yair's team, and Yair and his team claim it was 10 men that jumped one guy. You also shouldn't beat up one person with 10 men. Yair repeats himself multiple times when he says that. Like you and your team did to Marcos. So Marcos is the guy that was allegedly beat up by 10 of Diego Lopez's teammates. Truthful or not is to be decided, but that's the accusation.
Who's got the next question?
Okay, and John Anik immediately shuts that down. So that is the best translation I've seen of what actually happened live and what they were saying. There is a lot that was not actually covered there. So if anybody wants to mention in the comments some parts where we didn't get to hear them, or maybe if you're a really fucking good lip reader in Spanish, be my guest and let us know. But now we're going to jump across and look at the actual law and talk about the law of this. So before I scroll up and show you guys all the details, I want to remind you one more time. Shout out to the MMA poet, this guy that actually put this together, and he did, like I said, he did give credit to the guys that it doesn't say it here. He did give credit to the guys that he got this info from somewhere in the comments. I saw a comment of it, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to actually find it. Oh, here we go. Found it. Credits go to Club de UFC and El Rock Tagono for adding more in-depth context. So I'm guessing that the MMA poet got a lot of his context from these two guys here. So keep that in mind, that this isn't directly from him. This is the story that he's found and gained more context on online. So let's jump straight into it, right from the beginning. So it all started back when Diego Lopez was a Lux's 145-pound champion, as you can see, this promotion down here. At the same time that Marco Beltran, this guy here, you can't actually see the full thing, but it says their names down here. It says Diego Lopez and Marco Beltran, but you can see it here in this poster. Diego Lopez, Marco Beltran. This is the same guy. This is Yair and Marco together, because they are teammates, all right? Marco Beltran was the bantamweight champion of the same promotion, and he was going up a weight class to fight Diego Lopez for a double champ in this regional promotion. Marco is Yair's teammate and is also a former UFC fighter. Also cool information to know. I didn't know that either, but there it is. Marco wanted a second belt and to get a fight with Diego Lopez. He spoke out loud beforehand, verbally attacking him. So I don't know whether verbally attacking him is the most accurate way to say it. It could be. I don't know actually what they spoke about and how that beef went down. But he's basically saying that Marco was talking shit, trying to make the fight with Diego Lopez. After Diego defeated Marco, things calmed down for a while, and it seemed like the two had finally settled their differences via their fight. Yeah? Sometime later, Marco Beltran was set to defend his Lux title against one of Diego's most prominent students at Brazilian Warriors, which is, I believe, Diego Lopez's school or team that he's somewhat in charge of, okay? Better known as Francisco Patron. That was the guy, okay? The fight was cancelled twice. Once due to COVID, so this is how long ago this was. This second fight was 5 years ago, 4 years ago at least. So this fight, I can find out for you right now. In fact, I will. I'm going to look up when Lux Fight League 007. When did that happen? Let's find out. Lux Fight League 7. 29th of November, 2019, right? Just to confirm. 29th of November, 2019. Just says it up here as well. And yes, it is Mexico. It is Mexico. So just to confirm, Lux Fight League is a Mexican fight promotion. Okay? So, sometime later, Marco Beltran was set to defend his Lux title against one of Diego's most prominent students, Francesco Patron. The fight was cancelled twice, once due to COVID, and the second time, Patron, Diego's student, couldn't make weight, something that pissed Marco off, who lashed out at the entire Brazilian Warriors team, including his former opponent, Diego Lopez. Now, I don't understand what this part's talking about. So I'm guessing it is a different promotion, okay? But they mention Budo's 11th event. I think Budo must be a promotion. Down here, they also mention it. I'm going to scroll up a little bit so you guys can actually see what I'm reading. Yep, my face cam doesn't cover it. They mention a main event of Budo 11 here as well. So I'm guessing it's a fight promotion, a different one that isn't Lux Fight League. So it was at Budo's 11th event that everything exploded between both teams. Marco was cornering Rodrigo Marquez. So Marco, the guy that Yair is a teammate of and that Diego beat, was in the corner of Rodrigo Marquez. But that same night, someone from the Brazilian Warriors team, Diego Lopez's team, fought on the same card. The tensions escalated the night before the event due to an ambush organized by Marco's team against the Brazilian Warriors while they were eating tacos after the weigh-in. So this is a day before the event, and Marco and his team have organized to come out and jump or try and settle their differences or whatever Diego Lopez and his team. And Diego was there, as it says down here. Patron, the guy that got cancelled twice against Marco, was with them. So you had Diego, Patron, Alessandro must be another one of their teammates, and company, managed to escape from the taco shop, okay? That's the alleged rumor. As it says, this is only a rumor from reliable sources. So for the most part, the majority of this story seems to be known as pretty set in stone, but this part is up for debate as to what happened here. So take that with a grain of salt, but that is a big part of what leads to this potentially being Yair's team's fault, not Diego Lopez's team's fault. So you got to consider this one for yourself as to whether you actually blame Yair for this beef and think that he has the right to be, that Diego has the right to be pissed, or if you blame Diego for this beef and that Yair has the right to be pissed. So that's up for discussion. You can make that decision on your own. On the fight day, after the main event of Budo 11, so the event has ended, and this is where Marco was cornering a guy. He wasn't fighting, he was cornering a guy. Marco Beltran alleges that 10 members from Diego Lopez's team took the opportunity to attack him, and he was badly reported. He was reported badly injured after the incident. So this is also where we really start to consider it's these two occurrences. You got to decide whether these are true or not true, and whether someone's conflating things. Maybe there wasn't 10 guys, maybe he wasn't injured, maybe he spoke shit to them, maybe there was no taco shop incident. You got to decide for yourself, or do some more research and maybe enlighten people in the comments as to whether who started this and who's really at fault. It seems as though Marco and his team tried to start it, and then the next day, Diego Lopez's team went and fucked up Marco. Okay? That may be the case. So moving on, finally, Marco defended his Lux title, so back to where Marco is fighting, This is Budo. Budo, the event that he was cornering his friend at, is not the promotion he fights in. He was just cornering someone where a member of Diego Lopez's team was also fighting on that same card in that same event. But back to Lux Fight League. Marco defended his 135-pound title against Jose Rua, a member of Brazilian Warriors. Okay, so once again, they've collided, these guys, on multiple different occasions that they've come to a head. Marco is now defending his belt against a member of Diego Lopez's team, and he beats him. There was a lot of tension between both camps at the weigh-in and the week of the event, where Yair apparently threatened a female that trains with Diego. So supposedly, in the lead up to this fight, Yair Rodriguez threatened a female on Diego Lopez's team, which ties back to where they mentioned in the press conference where Diego's saying, "You don't threaten a woman," and Yair's saying, "Don't twist my words." Again, another point where you got to do your own research and kind of decide whether that's true or how much of that you believe, but that is the story, okay? After this fight, there were no further incidences in front of the public that we know of. So that was the last occurrence of it, which is why Diego has carried that information as the most important information, because it was the very last thing that happened in the altercation between these two fight teams, was supposedly Yair threatening a female that trains with Diego Lopez, which, if true, is fucked up. Very fucked up. Men can do whatever the fuck they want to one another. And even in the fight game, women on women is totally fucking... Of course it's fine. Even a woman talking shit about a man, it's fighting. You kind of just got to suck it up and grow a pair. Dudes beefing women or threatening, supposedly, allegedly, okay, I don't know, allegedly, threatening a woman, a man threatening a woman, in any circumstance is just crazy. I'm not even going to like be a white knight or something. It's just crazy to even decide you're going to do that and think that you're going to get away with it or have no consequences or that someone's not going to be pissed. Really fucking questionable there from Yair Rodriguez, okay? Whether he did it or not, whether it's true or not. That is the story, okay? I'll remind you, none of this info has been 100% confirmed by either side, but it is known that Yair has always been close to Marco and that this version of the story is the most widely circulated rumor that we heard for several years here in Mexico. So, that is the story. Supposedly, just to recap, it began with Diego fighting against Marco Beltran, who was trying to go up a weight class to fight Diego Lopez, and he spoke shit about him in the lead up to it to make the fight, and after Diego beat him, they settled their differences and they shut up for a long time. Then, Marco Beltran was meant to defend against someone on Diego's team. Diego gets, Diego's teammate that was meant to be fighting Marco Beltran misses weight and the other event gets cancelled by COVID, and that pissed Marco off a lot. Okay, and he lashed out at the entire team, not just that guy, including Diego Lopez. Later on, at another event where Marco was cornering a team member of his, and Diego was cornering a team member of his, if that's correct. Sorry, Marco was cornering the same night that Marco was cornering a teammate at the same night that someone from Diego's team was fighting. I don't know that Diego was cornering him, but he was there because the tensions escalated the night before the event. Marco's team supposedly tried to attack Diego's team while they were at a taco shop after the weigh-ins. Diego and his team managed to escape. On the fight day, Beltran alleges that 10 members from Diego's team took the opportunity to attack him and he was badly injured. And then later on, Marco goes back to fight again in his own division and defends his belt against a member of Diego Lopez's team. Again, another collision with this team. There's a lot of tension between both camps. Again, weigh-ins and week of event once again. And Yair supposedly threatens a female on Diego Lopez's team. And then after the fight, supposedly that was it. Nothing else happened. They didn't collide heads anymore. And that was it just fizzled out. It was never settled, but it was never further chased. So that's the full story. That's all I've read so far. There may be more information to it. Please, by all means, if you have more, I'd love to hear it. Let everyone know in the comments below. Tell me what you guys think of this beef, who you think was at fault, who wasn't. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe, on notifications. You can join me tomorrow for my fight companion for the card that both these guys are fighting on. So it's going to be interesting. Diego obviously fighting Volk, Yair fighting Patricio Pitbull. This is a fight that could be made sometime in the near future. So we'll have to see how they go both tomorrow with the outcome of these fights. And maybe this is a beef that we will have to see settled in the octagon where once again, Diego Lopes collides with a team with Yair Rodriguez, who have had their teams just absolutely fucking hating each other for clearly at least a period of a couple of years, right? So it's interesting, very interesting. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I hope you did enjoy this video. Shout out to the MMA Poet for giving this context. Really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoy it. See you all in the next Mixed Martial Arts video. Goodbye.